Hello, everyone. I would just love to share with you and kind of recall from my own account, the adventures I've had so far with this new pressure cooker. I already told you about the deviled eggs, not deviled eggs, the hard-boiled eggs, which I then made into deviled eggs. They turned out very, very well. I was most pleased. They peel so easily. But let me tell you about my other adventures. This is a learning process, for me at least. The first night, I attempted to make an old-fashioned pot roast. I thought, okay, something easy, something we've all made dozens of times before, an old standby, an old favorite. What could go wrong? Right? Well, no. The meat turned out not tender enough, and the vegetables turned out way overcooked, very much overcooked. So I have to go back to the drawing board on that one. I'll try that one again. So very first night, I would say, was a D minus, being generous. The next time I used it, I made pork chops. And these actually turned out quite well. I cooked them a little longer because we really do want to get to that fall off the bone. But they had to be done twice, pressured twice, because the first time I followed a recipe that I have no doubt someone likes them this way and developed this recipe of pressuring them for only 1 minute. Now, I think the effort was to attain that slow baked pork effect, you know, the tenderness and the flavor that you get from allowing the pork roast to stay in the oven a long time on a very low temperature. But that was not the effect I wanted. So I checked to make sure the meat was in fact done, that it was of a temperature safe to eat, and certainly it was. And so we ate the meal from that when it was time. But then, with everything that was left over, because remember, as I said, I'm trying to cook large portions here because I have a household here that requires that. So after dinner, I then took what was left and put it in and ran it through again for a considerable time. And this turned out beautifully. The meat was absolutely so well done, so tender, and the sauce that it was in was just right. It was very flavorful. I was pleased. So we've all heard of twice baked potatoes. Well, this was twice pressured pork. But it turned out well in the end, and as I say, this is a learning curve. My next adventure with it was a whole chicken. And I had gotten home a bit late, and I was going to just sear it right there in the cooker, and I was not too patient with that, so I didn't do a very good job with it. But I put the herbs and spices on it, the lemon juice and so on, and set it for longer than the recipe called. It was slightly larger than the recipe called for. So I let it go, but I didn't take the time I should have to sear it. So it came out very well done, as indeed was the aim. Very flavorful, good to eat, but not very pretty to look at. Now tonight, in fact, up there cooking in the kitchen right now, I have 4 pounds of chuck beef chuck, and I'm doing it with balsamic vinegar, a little honey, some beef broth, a few red pepper flakes, the recipe that you readily find on the internet. I decided to try this. I have never made balsamic beef before, but I did put this in for longer than the recipe calls for because I have a larger piece of meat, and the whole objective in this is to have meat that's tender enough, or one of the objectives is to have meat that's tender enough that the elderly people in this house can in fact chew it and eat it and enjoy it without my having to put it through a food processor. So those have been my adventures so far. I'm totally intrigued with this, and everyone whom I tell about it gets interested in it and excited about it. In fact, yesterday some friends were here and I was telling them about the easy peel eggs that I had made, and it was kind of funny because we had just been talking about a Sanskrit word, ananda, which roughly translated means joy or bliss or happiness. And I lit into my little joyful expose on the Instant Pot, and lo and behold, one of them said, "Oh, she has a whole new bliss, brand new ananda." So anyway, it is a joy, it is interesting, and it does take, in my experience thus far, a little bit of learning. So I'm going to sit here and finish this cup of tea and go upstairs and check on the pressure cooker. See you tomorrow.